All right. Well, welcome to another viewing or another episode, I guess, for want of a better word, of $5 in the World. I'm a day late. I like to do these on Fridays usually, but I had such a busy day yesterday. I had a board meeting that took over in Lansing at Great Lakes Christian College. It took all day till like 4:30. And then I had to drive back from Lansing to Grand Rapids about an hour, pick up my wife, Kathy, and then head off to a wedding reception that we'd been invited to get there before that kicked off. And we made it with time to spare, but not a lot of time to spare. Had a lovely time, stayed till the end, about 10:30, came home, and by then it was a little late for this. So did get it done on Friday, but I'm glad to be here today. Today was another busy day. I had appointments all morning, showed a really cool house to a client, signed a listing agreement with another client, saw some vacant land up north, and picked up some paperwork on a closing I've got for Wednesday, and then went over to Lansing and helped Daniel and Kathy get the rest of our son Daniel, stuff out of his apartment in Lansing, and brought it all back here because his lease expires at the end of April, and we're going to have him here for a few months while he gets saves up some money from his new job. So today's been a pretty busy but fun day. Great weather here where I'm at, and so that's how I ended up being here at 7 o'clock today instead of sometime yesterday. So that all said, thank you for being here, either live or watching this in replay. As you know, I'm working on this book project. My dad was a fascinating individual. Had a lot of cool things to say, lived an eventful, productive, fulfilled life. Had a lot of interesting sayings, a lot of great stories I grew up with, watched, experienced. Me and my brother both. Really, anyone that knew my dad. And anyone that I've talked to will say, I wish I'd have known your dad, or I wish somebody wrote down all the stuff he said or did. And it's been on my mind for a really long time. I finally got matched the motivation with the intention, with the energy, and I'm starting to write these things down, and I'm kind of previewing them with you here on YouTube. And I love your feedback; it's so encouraging. I'm looking to find out what will work with this, so that when it does get written, published, it'll reach the widest audience possible. And you've been invaluable in that. Plus, to be honest, it keeps me on track. If I don't have sort of like deadlines or people I'm accountable to, it's a little too easy for me to drift. So this has been a blessing for me, and I from your comments, it's been valuable to you too. And that's just a credit to God and to the kind of guy he refined my dad to be. That said, my mother was an amazing person too. Amazing people tend to match up like that. And she features a lot in these stories too. And so my brother's a great person too. And anyone that came in contact with dad was better for it. And so that all said, there's one I want to talk about today. He had this really interesting saying that I think I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to read into this story. But he had a way of framing experiences that weren't ideal, you know, that didn't say the restaurant was as good as we thought, or the side trip wasn't as fun as we thought it was going to be, or the show wasn't as good as we hoped, or the business venture didn't turn out as great as was expected, or the investment didn't return what we wanted. All those kind of things where reality didn't meet the expectation. Sometimes it was minor stuff, like I say, like a restaurant wasn't that good. Sometimes it could be pretty important stuff, like a business deal didn't work out the way it was supposed to, or a relationship didn't go the way you had hoped. Some heavier stuff. The expression still worked, and I think it's really helped me frame my own life in some really important ways. And I just want it's just a relatively short chapter, and but I want to get it out into this program so I can get your feedback on it, because I think it'll come in handy. I don't care what age you are, or what you've been through, what you're going through. I think adopting this approach to things that don't necessarily live up to what you're hoping for, it's not perfect for every situation, but I think for a lot of situations, it'll really come in handy and help you reframe experiences so that they're more life affirming than they might otherwise be. That's my intention. That's my hope. And, uh, and so I'm going to go ahead and read this chapter. Again, it's relatively short, but I think it's got a lot to it. This is called "We Don't Have to Do That Again." Dad's creativity seemed limitless when it came to finding things to try and places to visit. While he did not always receive an enthusiastic response, we typically ended up going along for the ride. I believe this high conversion rate was due to his powers of persuasion, his natural enthusiasm, and a pretty good track record of finding things that proved to be worthwhile. As any sports fan knows, you don't make every shot you take. Some of our excursions ended up underwhelming. We found that not every new restaurant produced great food. We learned that not every play, movie, or other live event would be a classic. It was in the aftermath of these misfires that I learned some important lessons. Dad would not sugarcoat a bad experience or gaslight us into thinking we should like it. He could acknowledge a miss. He was usually the first one to do so. At the same time, if he enjoyed an excursion, even if we didn't, he was honest about that too. His framing of this disappointments proved to be such a powerful affirmation of the value of curiosity, risk taking, and moving outside of our comfort zones. First of all, he did not apologize for taking the time and effort to try something new. He did not apologize because he was not sorry that we tried the new thing. He believed in the intrinsic value of exploring this world and testing our limitations. He would feel worse for having not given something a shot than he would if it turned out to be less than what it was cracked up to be. What he said was, well, we don't have to do that again. Setting up the review of the past experience in this way, we could view everything as either a win or a learning experience. The mindset reminds me of Thomas Edison's explanation of his light bulb experiments. He described the number of different filaments he tried before he found the one that would work. It was about 10,000 of them. When asked what it felt like to have so many failed experiments, he insisted that he hadn't ever failed. He had learned several ways of how not to make a light bulb. We came to look at life as experimental in the same way. I heard a major league pitcher explain his perspective on a long losing streak he was experiencing. When he was asked what it was like to lose so many games, he said that he didn't see it like that. He said that he was either winning or learning. Dad's approach taught us resiliency and made allowances for not having to be perfect. He encouraged us to try. Why not reach? He saw this life as a series of opportunities, actions, adjustments, and then repeat this cycle with an eye towards always getting better in some way as a person. If whatever we did proved to be enjoyable or otherwise beneficial, we could look at it, do it again sometime. If it was a drag or ended up being detrimental in some way, we didn't have to do it again. In either case, we knew more about something or ourselves than we did before. In the grand scheme of things, no harm done. This attitude proved priceless over the years. It put disappointment and failure in perspective, and it gave a positive framework. Innovation and risk taking took on an elevated status in our minds. It became an inclination and not a fear. It made our relationships more resilient. We didn't stake so much on being right all the time. The emphasis was placed on being of good faith and the effort in being gracious when things weren't perfect. I just think that at the time when he would say that, oh, we don't have to try that again, he usually was saying that in an effort to kind of cajole us out of a bad attitude, a disappointment, or even a hostility towards being talked into doing something that we ended up not liking. It was a way of lightening the mood in a way, of kind of taking the sting out of the disappointment or out of the frustration. That's how it felt at the time, and I'm sure that was the intent. But I think he was teaching us more than that without saying so. And I know that I learned more from it than that, from having lived through it and seeing how it really works. There are so many things we don't try because we're afraid it's not going to work out. We're afraid of what people are going to say about us if it doesn't work out. We're afraid of the flack we're going to get. We're afraid of what we might lose if it doesn't turn out, like an investment or a deal. This approach, this attitude takes some of that fear away. It takes a lot of it away because it reminds you that everything is everything, it's nothing's permanent, really. If something wasn't as fun as you thought it was going to be, you can just chalk that up to experience and go, okay, I know not, I know what to look for the next time that comes up. Maybe I won't do that again. Like he said, we don't have to do that again, but at least we tried. And there's something really almost heroic about trying. Go ahead, try. See what happens. If it doesn't work out, learn from it, make the adjustments, file that away. Don't resent anyone. Don't regret anything. Just take what good you can out of anything and move on to the next thing. You know, that helps with experiences, that helps in business, that helps in our faith journey, definitely helps in relationships. I mean, if we find ourselves in a relationship where we have to get it right all the time, there's no margin for error. If you mess up, it's a problem. It's going to be really difficult to maintain a healthy relationship with that. You're either going to be faking it, or you're going to be fronting, or you're going to be very defensive, or you're going to be, pushing the other person to like stuff even if they don't. It can just get very tense very fast. Doesn't have to be like that. If you go into everything with the understanding, we're all just trying in good faith to live our best lives. We're going to experiment. We're going to learn. We're going to have grace if something doesn't work out quite right. We're going to assume the other person's not doing it on purpose. If it didn't work out, it just didn't work out. But we don't have to do that again. But we're in it together. It's not about scorekeeping. It's not about shifting blame. You don't have to gaslight each other. You don't have to, get mad at each other if something didn't work out. It's just, okay, it didn't work out. I saw that take so much heat out of our relationships. It made growing up so much easier. And it was reciprocal. I mean, we would try to do stuff. And if it didn't work out, if it wasn't what mom or dad hoped for, they had sort of the same idea. Hey, you tried. Now, we wanted to have excellence. We wanted to win games. We wanted to succeed. We wanted things to work out. And a lot of times we put all the effort and energy in, and it would. But we had this confidence that if it didn't, it was going to be okay. One of the sayings my mother had that kind of went along with was a good compliment to that we don't have to do that again. My mom had an expression, this too shall pass. So if something didn't work out and we felt crummy about it and we're in a funk about it, she could come alongside and just in that perfect tone that a loving mother would have, an understanding mom who's been through some stuff, would say, hey, this too shall pass. Instant perspective check. The thing about disappointment is in the moment, it can feel permanent. If it's a big enough deal, it can feel like I'll never feel good again. This is always going to be like this. It's pervasive. It's permanent. This attitude, we don't have to do that again, means we can move on from here. This too shall pass means that feeling you got right now that's not so great, it's not permanent. And it doesn't have to spread over everything else. It's just this thing. It's this thing didn't work out. It's not that you didn't work out. It's not that I didn't work out. It's just this thing didn't work out. We're still okay. That's a beautiful reassurance to have. And it's a beautiful reassurance to pass on to somebody else, especially only if you mean it. I mean, authenticity and sincerity is essential for any of these things to work out right. But I just love the idea that, the goal is to try. The goal is to bring your best and try and reach as far as you can, get as far as you can, and then learn from the difference. Wherever you fall short, whatever doesn't work, there's still things to learn. You find stuff out about yourself. You find out stuff about the people you're with. You find out whether that experience was really worth it, if it's as good as you thought. But man, the flip side of it all is when it does work out because you had the courage to try, the confidence to try because of this healthy perspective. Man, that's even great. That's a celebration. A win's a win, and falling short is just a learning experience. There's really no failures. Failure is just a word we use for stuff we don't like how it turned out. It's a word we use. It's not a reality in existence. It's a perception of how something went. So if we quit using that word very much and just look at it as either like the baseball pitcher, I was either winning or learning, that keeps us moving. You don't want to feel so bad about an outcome that you just stop, that you give up. Now, that doesn't mean you don't switch gears, shift direction, adapt, and move. I'm talking about how you feel about yourself and about the people you're with. You don't have to feel like failures with each other. You don't have to feel like losers with each other. You can just be like people who are trying, people who are risking, people who are daring, people who are stepping out, trying to do the next right thing, trying to be the best they can be. You bring the wisdom and the knowledge and the humility and all the rest of that stuff with it. All of that stuff is kind of assumed here, and in the sincerity of your motives and all of that is expected to be part of that, right? I mean, good faith has to underpin all of these things, or they're just words. But when that's all there, and you're just out there taking a shot, that's great stuff. And there's that saying. It's a long saying. Teddy Roosevelt is famous for talking about it, and you can look it up. You can Google it. And if when I write this book, I'll probably excerpt it, put it in here. But he talks about being in the arena, and it's really a, a reflection on the difference between being a participant, the one who's actually in there trying, playing the game, fighting the good fight, and all that, and being a spectator. Now, in life, do you want to be a player? Do you want to be the actor? Do you want to be the participant, the striver, or do you want to be the critic, the audience, the observer? I think the people that are so worried about everything having to be right and afraid to take chances and suspicious of people who dare, the ones who like to find fault, they're the spectators, they're the watchers, they're the ones that always have something negative to say because it makes them feel better about not trying. Do we need that in our lives? No. Do we want to be like that in our lives? Maybe we have been, maybe you are. You can shake that. We can shake that. And by realizing that this approach, it's worth it to try because sometimes it works out great. And when it doesn't, you still learn something and you have the satisfaction of having tried. There's something really life affirming about taking a chance, putting it all out there, daring to care. We live in an age that's very cynical in large degree, not everybody or anything, but cynicism's kind of the thing out there. Being too cool, being indifferent, all that seems to be popular. Being very judgmental at the other end of the extreme, so being super judgmental, very unforgiving. There's a lot of that in the world too at the other end of the spectrum. But man, this approach, this too shall pass, and we don't have to do that again, allows us to strive, attempt, try, dare to care, and care enough to want to do our best, but not care so much about the outcome that if it doesn't work out, it crushes us because we know there's one more, because the disappointment will pass. We can try again and keep going, pick up and move forward, gaining ground all the time. And I just think it's exciting. I think it's when I look at a guy who lived for 101 years and was moving along, trying new things right up to the day he died. It's amazing. One of the stories I'm going to tell is about his last week of his life. There's a story there that I love to tell, and really it's as much epitomizes his approach to life as any story I'll be telling throughout the course of this journey and in this book. The last week of his life is right there, but it was that even up that last week, he had things he wanted to do. He was striving to get some things done. He was trying to make things happen, even though he didn't have a whole lot of physical health left to actually do it himself. But he was pushing and influencing and persuading and moving with an expectation of something cool happening. Just it was his essence. And it was because he had expressions like this. He had the attitude that generated expressions like this. He was married to a woman that had the attitude like my mother had. And I'm just thankful that between the two of them, they generated a couple of kids and a whole bunch of friendships and relationships that rubbed off on. I hope this was interesting to you. I hope it might be something if you a lot of you I know, and I know this is kind of how you roll. So this is good. It's sort of like preaching to the choir kind of idea. But you might know someone who doesn't think this way. Maybe this will help them. And you can share this with them. You can talk to them about it. The more the merrier. Like I say, it really does me a lot of good if you like and share and subscribe and do all those kinds of things with this channel. and get it out there into the world with me and for me. I'd really appreciate it. So that's it for today. If you didn't like it and you hate this, you don't have to do it again. But I hope you don't feel that way. And I hope you're back again with me next week. I plan to be here again on Friday with another chapter of $5 in the World, the stories and sayings of my dad. I'll talk to you then. Bye for now.